Welcome to Motivational Monday. This is Fed Zach, Senior Trading Strategist here at CMTrading. You ever work with somebody and then haven't seen them in a long time and you look them up and they've recreated themselves? You don't even recognize them. That's what we're going to talk about in today's Motivational Mondays. But before we start, make sure to like, subscribe, and do share, especially if you find value in this presentation. So when I first started working in the financial district in the US, I had several jobs, but one of my first jobs was working as a day trader in 1999. Yes, 1999, the boom and bust of the internet. It was easy money to trade in the financial markets. Only about 2 years later, it became almost impossible. And, things kind of stayed a little bit difficult for 2 to 3 years after that, and then it started up again. But this story takes me back to then. And one of the people that I was working at, and I was working for, he was an owner of the business that we were working under, one of the umbrella businesses, and he started very young in a very humble beginning. And I'll never forget this. I introduced myself to him in the elevator, and always, no matter what, anytime I saw him again, he'd always call me out and say, "Hey Fred, how are you? How was your day today?" He'd always call me by my name. And there was over 300 people that he knew in the building. So it was really very special that he did. And I think that part of the reason was because I called him out first and I introduced myself, and it made some sort of impression on him. But put that aside, today the man owns a hockey franchise in the United States. So he's worth over $2 billion, whatever it is. But that's not the point. The point is that he recreated himself throughout his lifetime. And he set up certain businesses in relatively somewhat of familiar territory. Florida Panthers is not familiar territory, but he did start out in the financial district. He worked himself up in the NYMEX, the New York Mercantile Exchange, and he recreated himself. He gained enough money in order then to start investing in a bank, and then he invested in an online market making electronic trading firm, and then it just went up and up from there. And then he was able to do things for fun, not necessarily because it was a major investment, but he got to go into Kentucky Derby. He got to invest in the Florida Panthers. But the point of all this saying is that this person started just like everybody else. He started out with nothing. In fact, he started out with less than nothing, okay? In all intents and purposes, he even started out less than me. He is older than me significantly, but that's a separate story. The point is that he recreated himself throughout his entire lifetime. And whatever the bar was, whatever the standard was, he raised it and he raised it and he raised it and he raised it no matter what he did in life. And there are certain people in my lifetime that I have been exposed to that have done that with themselves. Have they raised the bar, not necessarily with their everything else, but on themselves, and that affected everything else. And we've spoken about this several different times, but this was just striking. This was a person that went from $0 to $2 billion, and someone that you could feel, touch, and see throughout their lifetime, and see that transition actually happen. Now, it doesn't happen overnight, and it does happen with a lot of introspection, a lot of looking at oneself and taking accountability and taking responsibility. And it's some of the same stuff that keeps on repeating itself. It's nothing new. There's nothing that I share with you in these particular videos that are going to be anything new at any particular time. The only difference is that you keep on repeating them and going over them and going over them and going over them and going over them again until you're blue in the face, until you get better and you see results for yourself. And that adds some momentum, and then it carries itself from there. Now, all intents and purposes, to recreate yourself is not an easy task. Yes, you need mentors and you need people below you. Both of it is very important. Why do I say that? Well, mentors in order to direct you, and people below you to keep you in check, because you could then compare yourself to some of the people that you started out with and kind of see how you've progressed vis-a-vis the regular person, so to speak. So it's a lot of things to take into consideration, but it's done. In today's world, it's never been easier. With the advent of the internet, you have lots of information available to you. I mean, my kid, even 18 years old, is taking Harvard classes online just because they're accessible. And it's easy, and it's there. I mean, he doesn't have to go to Boston, Massachusetts in order to attend Harvard. That's the point of this particular video. If you find this video helpful, give us a thumbs up, and we'll see you here next time on Motivational Mondays.